Hey, this is Jeff McManus, and you're listening to the 360 Entrepreneur with Yen Ilanga.
This is episode 158, and today we talk about personal growth lessons. Here we go.
Welcome to the 360 Entrepreneur Podcast, the show for entrepreneurs and small business owners who dream big and want to do bigger. Join some of the world's top entrepreneurs, internet marketers, and best-selling authors as they share their inspiring stories, their struggles, and give actionable tips that will help you build, grow, and promote your online business. Here's your host, Yanni Lunga.
Hey there, how's it going? I hope you're having a fantastic week and you are ready to look at yourself. Yeah, that's right. Today, we take a look at you because this week's episode is a conversation on personal growth. So today's guest expert, Jeff McManus, he has some expertise and he shares some advice on some of the things you can do to become the best version of yourself and at the same time, how you can help those around you. So your assistants, your team, your colleagues, how you can help them grow as well so that they go from what Jeff calls weeders into leaders. The show notes for today's episode are at yanilunga.com/episode 158. Okay, here is the interview with Jeff McManus from jeffmcmanusspeaking.com. Hey everybody, today's guest expert grows things. And if I were to stop my introduction here, you would be like, wait, what, Jan? Like gross things? What does it mean? Well, you'll get to understand about that in a second. As the Director of Landscape Services at the University of Mississippi, he grows plants, he grows people, he grows ideas. He's a speaker and problem solver who really knows a lot about leadership. In fact, he helps individuals develop into leaders by applying the elements of greatness, resiliency, opportunity, and wisdom. It's with great pleasure that I welcome on the show Jeff McManus. Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
Hey, Jan, thank you for having me. Love being here with you today.
My pleasure. And I said it in the intro. If I had stopped there, today's guest expert grows things. People might have thought about every type of thing. Their imagination would have run wild. But I said it. So, Jeff, you're the Director of Landscape Services at the University of Mississippi. And I said it. You have been focusing on leadership, on growth, on personal development. So can you tell all of us a little bit more about your story and kind of how these topics, so leadership, growth, personal development, have become part of your, I dare to say, daily routine or weekly routine?
Absolutely. It is, in our day and culture, everybody's being asked to do more with less. We're doing more projects, more jobs, and we're no exception to that. And so I began to really focus on how can I get our team 100% on board, full buy-in, where they felt like this was their passion, this was their love, this is what they wanted to do. And they went from just wanting a paycheck to having a purpose. And so when we tapped into that with developing weeders into leaders, it really gave us some insights into changing not only the way people worked, but the way they believed. And so I started focusing on, instead of focusing so much on the technical aspect of how to grow plants, but more about how to grow people. And I have started that about 5 years ago. And we started a class called Leader to Leader, where we simply come together as a group and we will talk about anything in the world, but usually about some type of characteristic, anything from adaptability to dependability, our core values. And sometimes we'll watch a DVD, we'll watch a TED Talk, we'll watch anybody who's inspiring that may have a message that we can benefit from. And then we'll just start letting our team engage in the process. And for the first time, many of these men and women are hearing themselves say things that they've never said before, and the way they believe, how it's important to be trustworthy, how it's important to be loyal. And so that's the exciting part, is we're working on growing men and women from the inside, and they're creating incredible results on the outside.
That's pretty interesting, Jeff. And I think what is cool about what you just said is that is really something that by having that kind of angle you have had over the last few years, it's something that is really scalable because, I mean, obviously you are, as the director of landscape services, you focus on plans and these kind of things. But there may be people here with you and I who they may have thought, oh, well, okay, that may not apply to me. But as you said, by focusing on those qualities and focusing on the individuals, we turn them into leaders. And those are really things that can be applied to anybody who's here with you and I, who is a quote unquote, a community leader. And obviously you have developed this, I think we can call it the grow theory. So what would you say are the kind of, let's call them key principles of the grow theory, Jeff?
Well, the grow principles are really simple. So first is that most people are not comfortable with thinking of themselves in the realm of greatness. And G is our first letter, and it's for greatness. Most people just feel like that maybe one day greatness will show up on them, or they'll never achieve greatness, and they don't think what they do every day matters. So what we continually remind our team is that within the first 15 minutes of a college visit, a prospective college student will decide if they're coming to our campus or any other campus because of the way it looks. And so with our team, we say, you're not only recruiting prospective students, but these students go on and do great things later. They cure cancer, they cure HIV, they go to the moon, they do all these things. And I say, you're a small part of that. Right. And so we talk about that greatness, and then we play, everybody's going to run into problems, right? Napoleon Hill says one of the most common causes of failure is the habit of quitting when one is overtaken by temporary defeat. Right. And we're all going to hit that. And so we talk about the resiliency of being able to call upon each other, use each other's strengths, and to stay in the game. And that always provides opportunity, which is our O. O is the opportunity to see things. We created Landscape University as we needed more help on what our standards were in quality and accountability. And we created it in an order to empower our team to think like leaders. So we now I go around and teach that to not only universities in landscaping, but I'm teaching that to businesses and others around who want to engage their staff and empower them. And then our last principle is walking toward wisdom. And anytime you can get around the wisdom of the ages, you're going to be a much better person. So one of the ways we do that is I give everybody on our team a book to read. And I'm not under any false illusion thinking that everybody on our team's going to read it. But you know what? Some do. And actually a lot do. And so that has a way of getting inside of a person and changing them for the better and the good. And, personal growth is always something that we can benefit from. So we do that. I've taken our team to field trips to the local library and showed them how to check out audiobooks and just fun things like that, because I want them to be successful in anything and everything they do. So I teach them to walk alongside these men and women who have gone before us and are here now, who are smarter, brighter, and have gifting, and hang around with those people, either in books, audio, and hey, maybe even in person. You are who you hang around with.
Yeah, no, you're right, Jeff, and it's interesting because as I was listening to you laying out the 4 principles of the growth theory, so greatness, resiliency, opportunity, and wisdom, I was really thinking like, man, that's already something very difficult to do for your own growth. I can imagine passing along the message to what you call leaders. So I was thinking, okay, if there are entrepreneurs, small business owners, or anybody who is some kind of quote unquote community leader here, whether it's an online community or an in-person community, Jeff, what can we all do to kind of help people who follow us or who are around us to grow and kind of become the best version of themselves they can ever be?
Well, that's a great question. And I think the number one way that we can help anybody is to become a great leader ourselves, is to work on ourselves. Because if we can't accept the fact that we do have areas we need to work on, if we don't accept that and we don't try to work on those, it's hard to win the respect and the street credibility of those around us. Right. So one of the things I had to do was really always make sure that I led by example. That's a huge core value for me personally, but also for our team, teaching them to lead by example. So in that, we developed the mindset of how we lead. Other people are always watching us. So it's important that no matter what we're doing is we set that good example. So we have college students work with us along with our full-time staff. And so, hey, you're going to be a mentor, whether you realize it or not. They're going to be looking to you for the example. Right. And how you do that will determine our culture. And that culture will determine our results. And so I try to get in front of that by providing experiences that will help foster those core beliefs that we have, that will go on and put them into action, and then to create this incredible campus, this credible product, these results that we've won, 4 national awards with. We call them national championships. We want those because we know that helps validate and make our team feel what they're doing is being recognized.
It's great, Jeff, that you really, with what you just told us, you really are showing us that you put everything, not necessarily at the same level, but you also give everybody the same kind of opportunities. You say even to students that, hey, you're going to be a leader, and that you may start out as a mentor. And then it ties into what you told us earlier when you talked about greatness, for example, that, hey, you may have kind of a choice to make as in where to study, for example, but that what you consider may be a small choice or a big choice, depending, it can really be a brick you put down for building greatness. And you talked about earlier the importance also of resiliency, so being ready to go forward even through hard times. And I assume that that's a big issue, especially for when it comes to personal development, because obviously if we quit, we feel like a failure, we are quitters, we are no goods, and this and all that, which definitely can snowball into something very negative. And that's even more difficult if it applies to a team member, because if we don't have good communication within the team, something like that, we may even not be aware of the fact that a team member or a colleague or whoever may be going through a tough time. So when it comes to kind of team management and having a great work environment, what advice would you have, Jeff? I mean, you already hinted in some of the things you share with us, some of the things you and the leaders do, but still.
Well, let me clarify weeders, because weeders is a mindset. It's not necessarily a person or who we are, but it's an affectionate term that I use of taking people from the day one and changing that into a leader. So we don't ever want anybody to think you're just a weeder or you're just mowing grass. I mean, you're changing the world when you come work for us, the way we like to put it, because you're helping inspire people. You're helping to create an environment. So the trust is incredible attribute that we need. And when we worked on that behavior, we talk about how do you build trust. And I asked our staff one day during one of our meetings, how do you build trust? The number one answer, they came back to me and says, you do what you say you will do.
Right.
There's a lot of truth in that. If a lot of times managers and leaders and entrepreneurs promise the world, but they don't do what they say they're going to do. And so that hurts the trust. And when trust goes up, when we're trusting each other, the speed of the work goes up. So we're becoming much more efficient. People can count on what we're saying. Those are huge. I mean, respect one another, building the respect. When you trust, that respect level even goes up higher, because I know your word is your bond. We speak kindly to each other, even behind people's back, and we don't want to undermine that. We had a problem with gossip for a while, and my whole thought was, man, I wish those people out there would stop doing that. And I just kept saying that over and over, and gossip just kept coming back. And finally, I realized after we were reading through some books together, I was going to have to change. I was the leader. And so if I continue to let this behavior be modeled out and really go unchecked, it was going to continue. So I had to change my behavior. I had to take ownership in it. And I had to say, look, this is part of me. So I've got to hold you accountable for that. And that's when we really started working on our culture. I wanted to try an experiment 5 years ago of, can I change our culture to one that's an adapting and overcoming, a mindset of we can do anything, and we'll continually to ask, what can we do next? What can we do next? How can we make this a better campus? And I didn't know if I could do that or not. So when we started doing the classes, that really started building the trust and started building the bond with us. And it's amazing, when you're growing really good grass, it chokes out all the weeds. And that's the same thing what happens with people. You start growing people, it starts choking out the weedy thoughts and chokes out the weedy members, and they kind of just take care of themselves. So we have a really, it's not perfect culture, but we really have a good culture to cultivate greatness in.
I love it. Thank you, Jeff, for really not only sharing your expertise and wisdom, but also for really inspiring all of us as community leaders to really take ownership on what may be going on in our team or our community that we aren't satisfied with, we aren't happy with, and we should do something about it and really take ownership in and keeping the common good in mind. And obviously nowadays with technology, it is great because, let's face it, you and I are in different continents, different time zones, are having a great conversation here on Skype, and people can also hire people from other continents. They can, whether it's virtual assistants or people who are doing a part-time job or full-time position even, if we are in different countries. However, if we think about the topic of this session, so we think about grow, we think about the kind of spirit of a team, the personal development of team members and all these kind of things, that's something that can be a bit challenging by if we try to nurture it over technology. So, Jeff, what advice do you have for the entrepreneurs and small business owners who are here with you, and maybe they already are or are thinking about hiring people who are, on the other side of the world or whatever? So what advice do you have for them in making sure that not only they find the right people to hire to do the task they need them to do, but also to really cultivate and grow this company culture and team member mentality?
Well, it's going to be a different feel when you're around the world from each other, but at the same time, you still have your core beliefs and your core values of what it is that's true to you. To me, trust is huge for me. So that's a core value. So I want to make sure when I'm working with someone, whether they're next door or around the world, is that we understand that we trust one another until the other person shows otherwise. But we need to make sure that our values to some degree line up. So when I say that I'm going to meet you at 3:00, that they know that we're going to meet at 3:00 and not at 3:30 or
Right.
hey, just drop the meeting, because that really shows that we can't trust you. You might be a little flaky there, Jeff, not showing up for your meeting. So, there's always forgiveness and grace, of course, but we build on those things that we believe in, and it continues to grow with one another. But I'm wanting to validate people quickly. I'm having somebody edit my book right now. Book's coming out this summer, Growing Weeders into Leaders. And, immediately, I mean, it's a 10 chapter book. And so she's editing through it, and I'm saying, let's look at it after 3 chapters. Let's see how you're doing after 3, so I can make sure we're going in the right direction, because I'd hate for you to spend all this time. So again, it's that validation for me. That's a little bit how I do it.
Okay, and if we stick to this aspect of the conversation, because I think it's something that some people may really relate to, because they may have a quote unquote virtual team or whatever. So early on, you talked about some of the things you may do with some of the students or people there on campus. So whether that's watching a TED talk or sharing a book and read it, or some things along those lines. So for all the people who are here with you and I, Jeff, and maybe they're thinking of putting together a virtual team, or maybe they already have a team, even if not virtual, do you have any book or podcast or some resource that you like to share that can be helpful both in terms of leadership and kind of team member growth?
Well, I tell you, one of the books that we really enjoyed that we did, and the reason we liked it is because it deals with values and beliefs, and it was John Maxwell's 17 Essential Qualities of a Team Player. And it talks nothing about landscaping, but it talks everything about what we do. Right. So I would think that it would benefit anyone or any team, or building a virtual team, if you ask somebody, and it's a short little read, and we gave the books out, but we also did the DVD. It comes with a workbook as well. Mm-hmm. But even if you just did the book, and a group I did this with in Maryland, several hours away, I did a conference with them, and I told them about it. They said they're doing the book now, and it's really helping them. But it's all about fostering those common beliefs and those that you get on the same page. If you can deal with the core values on the inside of a person, you're going to line up so much better to focus on that the results, if they're qualified and they have this credibility and they can do the work, is going to be easy. Actually, going to be easy. I used to focus a lot on getting how we mowed things and how we trimmed them, and it worked great for 6 months, and then we reverted back. And I was like, man, we've got to get people to own this. We got to get people to just step up and say, this is mine. And so when I focused more on the values that we lead by example, we adapt and overcome, we never stop training and growing, we dedicate ourselves to professional integrity, we serve with respect and pride, we cultivate greatness, all these things that kept out. And we actually, you may think that's funny, we actually have our own landscape creed that we say every Monday morning in our meetings, but it gets us unified and helps our new people who come on board into our culture really quick. I see this working face to face, and I don't know that people want to have their own creed or whatever, but I just see a value in that. There's something about knowing that you're all working in the same direction, and reading a book, watching these videos and saying, tell me what you got out of that. What was your takeaway from that? And there's some great, in this day and age, there are so much out there. I love the Maxwell stuff. I love the Les Browns, the Jim Rohns of the world who are teaching this kind of stuff, that it helps you build a team.
Oh, that is great. The example you made, Jeff, of your creed, and if we think about it, what you told us is very, very true. That if we align with the person's values, it's definitely going to be easier for the whole team or the whole company or the whole community to move in the same direction. And it can be, again, to reinforce the team spirit, whatever that you want to call it. It can be having a creed like Jeff and his people do. It can be having a monthly call or something like that. And you guys may remember we talked about outsourcing with Bill Watkins and Robert Malone, and they said that actually, even though they hire virtual assistants, they really treat them as people who are there at the office, so they make sure that they always are in touch. I believe they said even on a daily basis. So they're really doing that really helps build their rapport, and also for the person you may hire. I assume, Jeff, you're agreeing that also for me, let's say if I'm a virtual assistant and you are thinking of hiring me, I'm definitely gonna feel better. I'm gonna feel great if I know that you're reaching out to me not only whenever you need a task to be done, but also maybe to check on how am I doing, or to tell me, hey, you know what, I just read this great book, I wanted to share it with you. And speaking of great books and sharing, you, Jeff, mentioned a book with us, the John Maxwell's book, and like in every episode, guys, you're gonna find the link to the book, to Jeff's site, jeffmcmanusspeaking.com, his Twitter account at Jeff McManus. Everything as we covered in the show notes, so that if you want to maybe connect with Jeff, say thank you, or maybe ask him a question, you can do it through Twitter, through his site. And also, you're gonna find the link to today's sponsor, which is Audible. So if you are more of an audio person than a book person, you can definitely get access to your favorite book on Audible and really learn more and grow as a person. And Jeff, you have talked about, I believe in one of your posts on your site, you talked about the 5 traits of a loyal team member. So you've kind of already touched on trust, on some of the things that need to be there in order to the kind of the pieces of the puzzle to come together and for the community or team to work great. So what are these 5 traits that you've seen of a loyal team member?
Well, you make a great point. I wrote this blog based on a discussion from our leader to leader class with our staff. These are frontline folks who are doing it in the trenches and just making the world a better place for us here. And so I asked them some of these questions. You know, what does it take to be to make someone loyal, or are you loyal to them? How do you build a loyal team? And number one answer is do what you say you'll do. Right. That was the number one. And then number 2 was speak kindly to others, especially behind their backs. And number 3, respect each other. One of our staff even added, even if the other person doesn't seem to respect you.
Amen.
And, you know, that's a deeper level. That is such a deeper level to be able to respect somebody who doesn't act as if they respect you. And so I was really proud of some of these answers. And number 4, treat others the way you want to be treated, which is, of course, is the golden rule. And then number 5, seniority doesn't mean loyalty. As one staff bluntly put it, one guy did just enough to get by for years. That's not loyalty. That's being lazy. And a 25-year productive, engaged employee is a loyal employee. So, you know, just because someone's been at a place for 25 years doesn't mean they're loyal. It could just mean, as one of my staff says, it could just mean they're lazy and just did enough to get by. So going that deeper aspect of the way you treat people, you know, that has nothing to do with plants. That has nothing to do with podcasting. That has nothing to do with anything. That's just old-fashioned values in treating people. In our world, you know, I hope this podcast doesn't sound like that we all have to believe the same way about everything, because that is far from true. I mean, our political spectrum here, it's a university. We're all over the place. And so political, social, everything is across the board. But these core values line up pretty strong in the way we want to do our work and what we want to be known for. That's that's big. I talk to our guys, what do you want to be known for when you retire? Because you're only going to be here a short time and then you'll be gone. And how do you want your families to remember you? And how do you want your teammates to remember you? What's that all about? And so we try to go a little bit deeper in our thinking, trying to get beyond just a paycheck and to get to purpose, and then develop and grow that passion to be the best of the best.
I love it. Really, you're so right. And the example you made of the employee who may have been around for over 20 years, but he or she is just lazy. That's very important, because I think that especially in this day and age, where again, because of technology, it seems to be so easy to put together a team, whether it's a virtual team or in person, or to gather people, to create a community, to start a company. Even it feels that it's so easy, but like you told us, we have to really, first of all, focus on the people. And you said that this, having the core beliefs, share beliefs, it doesn't mean that everybody has to think the exact same thing on everything. It's important also to have some diversity, because that's also what really helps all of us improve and gives room for a deeper conversation that may even go beyond the simple task at hand. And Jeff, you've told us quite a lot here in this episode. You told us about the growth theory, the 4 different elements of the growth theory. You told us more about leadership, about how to go from kind of employee or entrepreneur into leader. You shared some of the things we can do to really help people thrive, and whether those people are employees, virtual assistants, people who are following our podcast and are gathering as a community. And then you also told us about some of the things you and your team actually do there at the University of Mississippi to really grow on a personal level, as a team, as a university. And to wrap it up here, I'd like to ask you for some final words of wisdom, some final words of encouragement to all the entrepreneurs and small business owners who have been here with you and I, and they are thinking about how they can improve their company culture, how they can make sure that every person they hire is gonna be like excited about the opportunity, is gonna be ready to roll up his or her sleeves and really contribute in a great way.
There's a lot in that question, but I think right. the one simple concluding remark would be, I have a quote on a taped on or a sticky note that says, "Run toward the roar." Run toward the roar. So that which we fear, if we will push ourselves through that and take the action. The hardest thing I ever did, Jan, was to run to the roar of starting these group leader-to-leader classes with my staff, because I thought they would laugh at me and make fun of me behind my back. And I was like, we don't have time for this. I don't have time for all this. We got tons to do. But it hit me even years later that this was like putting money in a bank. It's a great investment. It just grows and grows. Yes, it takes a little bit of time, but it just grows, and it's a 10x. The people I work with, the people I attract here now, and the people who are hiring the people they want to be around. It's just a culture of people who want to grow and get better and accomplish great things, as opposed to just hanging around for just the benefits. And that's what I want to be around, is people who want to make a difference. I want to hang around people who are wanting to be the best of the best. And so that George B. Wright used to say, reproduce yourself into others. And that's the best way I could say is, and my passion and my love for what I do is to get people on the same page and passionate about doing great things, and then and empower them, let them know that what they do is great. And so now I've been so fortunate to do this. I'm getting to do this around the country and the university has blessed me with letting me go and speak and help other people create these systems for their places as well. Because it just continually amazes me how simple this is, but yet so hard. And so I'm there to help people grow and to grow their greatness. So I do hope people will reach out after they hear this to me on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and let's connect. I'd love to, especially LinkedIn, and ask me some questions.
Great. Okay, so if it's okay with you, Jeff, I'll also add the link to your LinkedIn page here in the show notes so that people can connect with you there. Sounds good?
Yes, awesome.
Great. All right, so guys, you heard it. Whenever you step outside of your comfort zone, great things are gonna happen. And Jeff told us, he really ran toward the roar, and sure, he had doubts. He thought that, people were gonna think, this is a silly idea. It's not gonna work. We don't have time for it, and yada, yada, yada. But here he is, few years after. Not only the thing is that started out as a thing is really thriving. More people are getting interested in it at the university level, but also on a nationwide level. Jeff now is being asked to go and kind of implement the GROW system in other universities. So if you've been here with Jeff and I, you want to learn more about leadership, you want to learn more about how you can really make this GROW theory part of your company culture, part of your online community culture, whatever the case may be, make sure again to go to the show notes page of this episode so you find the links to everything Jeff and I have talked about, including the link to his site, jeffmcmanusspeaking.com, and different ways you can connect with him on social. Well, Jeff, thank you so much really for being here with us, sharing your story, telling us more about the growth theory, about the people you work with, and some of the things we can do to not only become the best version of ourselves, but also to really help employees and team members and assistants become great people and really also having a good time doing what we would need them to do. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Jan, you've done a great job, and thanks for having me on your show today.
All right, we are back, Jeff. Thank you so much for this very interesting conversation and for sharing your thoughts on some of the things we can do to really become the better version of ourselves and help those around us grow as well. And over the last few weeks, you heard me talking about the Podcast Success Summit, this digital conference I'm putting together. Well, the countdown has officially started. There are only a few weeks before the event starts. So now I can share more details with you because those are final. There's gonna be 80 speakers. Yeah, that's right. You heard right. 80 speakers. There's gonna be some familiar faces. If you've been with me before, there's gonna be some familiar faces like John Lee Dumas, who's going to be the closing keynote speaker, Jay Baer, who's going to be the opening keynote speaker. We're going to have Joel Comm, who's with us on episode 100, Pamela Slim, Sue B. Zimmerman, Kate Erickson, Nathan Latka, Nathan Chan, and many, many other. And the cool thing about the event, personally, obviously, I'm a bit biased, but the cool thing about it is that it's really a global event. We're going to have speakers from the UK, from Africa, from Asia. We're going to have new podcasters, veteran podcasters. We're going to be talking about a variety of podcasting related topics. Podcasting gear, launching your podcast, co-hosting a podcast, podcast networks, promotion, social media marketing, podcast monetization, and many, many, many other things. And the cool thing for you is that everything happens online. So you don't have to fly anywhere. You don't have to buy any flight ticket. You don't have to look for a hotel, anything like that. The only thing you have to do really is to go to the show notes for this episode, yanilunga.com/episode 158. And there you're going to find the link to the Podcast Success Summit. So you can go there to the site, sign up completely for free, and then you're going to get access to the event as soon as it starts. So whether you are a new podcaster, you are about to start a podcast, or you have been podcasting for years, there's going to be some golden nuggets for you on the Podcast Success Summit. This is it for this week. Again, make sure to check out the show notes with everything Jeff and I have talked about over at yanilunga.com/episode 158. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the 360 Entrepreneur Podcast. For more tips and tools, head over to www.yanilunga.com.